when we begin the seventh webinar of the series on industrial safety and disaster risk reduction. The theme of today's webinar is maintenance measures for industrial safety, a very important subject, a very pertinent subject considering the times we are in. Soon after the lockdown happened, and then eventually unlocking started, industries started opening up. There were a lot of issues which industries faced. There were certain series of industrial accidents also which happened. National Disaster Management Authority came out with restarting industries guidelines. All of that put together, I think industries were put to challenge. There were a lot of issues which they wanted to resolve and mitigate the risks and which were happening. So coming back to the subject, which is maintenance measures for industrial safety. Before I give a brief on this, I would like to welcome all the distinguished panelists to this very important webinar. I would also like to welcome all the attendees who are here. We are already touching the 100 mark. We are expecting this number to go up. Starting with Dr. Ahmed, Dr. Muzaffar Ahmed, who is with us. Thank you so much for coming, sir. We will be having opening remarks from Dr. Ahmed. We have Mr. Labyendu Mansingh, sir, former Secretary Government of India. Thank you so much for joining. We also have Dr. S.P. Garg, former ED Gale. Thank you so much, Dr. Sir, for your continued support. We have the three eminent speakers from the industry. From SABIC, we have Mr. Janardhan Ramanujalu. We have Mr. Rituraj Mehta from Adani. We soon will be joined by Mr. Aaron, who is from NTPC. As we move along, I would be giving a brief background, a brief profile, sharing the brief profile of these eminent speakers with you. A couple of housekeeping rules for everyone who is part of this deliberation today. I would request all the panelists to kindly keep their mics on mute. Whenever you can unmute whenever you want to speak up. We've had 6 such webinars. They've been all very successful, barring a couple of glitches we had initially. But I would also request all the attendees to please feel part of this conversation. They can mention, they can write their questions targeting to specific speakers, or the panel, or a general question could be put into the window of question and answers. We will be taking that up after the presentations are made. Regular maintenance is essential to keep equipment, machines, and the work environment safe and reliable. Lack of maintenance or inadequate maintenance can lead to dangerous situations, accidents, and health problems. Maintenance, as we all understand, is a high-risk activity with specific hazards and risks, and these include working alongside a running process and in close contact with machinery. During normal operations, automation typically diminishes the likelihood of human error that can lead to accidents. However, in maintenance activities, contrary to normal operation, direct contact between the worker and the machine cannot be reduced substantially. Maintenance is an activity where workers need to be in close contact with processes. On that note, I would like now, for opening remarks, I would like to request Dr. Muzaffar Ahmed, a brief profile, background of Dr. Ahmed, a renowned figure, former member of National Disaster Management Authority, Government of India. He's highly experienced. He has looked after the industrial disaster management, mitigation, earthquake, and other important subjects at the national level at the authority. Dr. Ahmed has been instrumental in formulation of more than 8 national guidelines. He is the recipient of Dr. B.C. Roy National Award by Honorable President of India. Dr. Ahmed has written more than 6 books on disaster management. May I now request Dr. Ahmed to please present the opening remarks of this webinar. Over to you, Dr. Ahmed.
Thank you, Rubab. Let me first compliment and congratulate the CIDM, which is working under the leadership of Lieutenant General Bhardwaj, assisted by Mansingh Sahab, and an able team under Rubab and Akhil, Manik, and others. As you have mentioned, we have already conducted 6 webinars, and they've idea of these conducting these webinars was to update and also improve the capacity of the people working in the industrial sector. And today is the 7th webinar on an important issue, that is the safety measures required for industrial sector. Well, maintenance, you have already mentioned the importance of the maintenance of the industrial sector. Also, I would like to have major accident hazard units, whether it's a pipeline, it's a refinery, or other major accident hazard units, a chemical industry, or even a power, because power sector, whether it is a power plant run by NTPC or any other NHPC, the regular maintenance is an important aspect. Although number of initiatives have been taken now with the what you have already mentioned about the automation has occurred, has reduced a lot of errors which used to be occurring because of the human. Now human errors are getting less and less because of the automation, but still the maintenance is an essential part where the workers, especially those assigned the jobs of maintenance, have to perform their jobs very well in accordance with the standard operating procedures. Any of the, I would call it negligence, or any, any part in not doing the maintenance properly can lead not only to accident, but it can lead to a hazard, it can lead to a disaster, which we have seen even in the experience which was in the report given in the Bhopal gas tragedy, and even in other industrial accidents all over the world. And maintenance also has, it has involved unusual work. It has to be done it has to be done, with meticulously, and also sometimes where you have to not only monitor the atmosphere, even the leakages of the, even in the industries where you have to use the gadgets and devices to see whether there is any leakage in the atmosphere of the gas or any hazardous material, so that the whatever the risks are there, those are minimized. And if the maintenance is done meticulously as per the SOP in an industrial sector, the chances of accidents are very low. There are especially the chances of accidents in the pipeline, where the maintenance of the pipeline is an important aspect. If the maintenance of the pipeline is done regularly and according to the standard norms and SOPs, the chances of accidents will be low. With these words, I welcome our three eminent speakers and also our colleague Mansingh Saab and others, Mr. Garg, for attending this webinar. Thank you, Rupa. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed, for setting the perspective and sharing your opening remarks and your thoughts on the subject. As we move on, I just wanted to welcome Dr. Rajeshwar Rao, Senior Advisor, Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister. Welcome, Mr. Rao. Thank you for being amongst us today. I would also like to welcome Mr. Arin Bodoloy from NTPC. I see you online. Thank you so much for joining. This initiative has been supported, the entire initiative of the CIDM webinars has been supported by the National Authority itself, NDMA, by Department of Promotion of Industries and Internal Trade, DPIIT, Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister, Asian Disaster Preparedness Center, Bangkok, and Gujarat Institute of Disaster Management, Government of Gujarat. Moving on, now I would request Dr. L. Mansingh, former Secretary Government of India, and the first chairman of PNGRB, for his special remarks. Before I request him for his remarks, a brief background. Shriman Singh belongs to the 1970 batch of Indian Administrative Service of Government Gujarat cadre. His last assignment prior to superannuation was Secretary to Government of India in the Ministry of Consumer Affairs. He was appointed as the first chairperson of PNGRB in 2007. In Government of Gujarat, Shriman Singh has worked in various capacities, most of which have been in areas of finance, investment promotion, and industrial development. He was given the special assignment of relief and rehabilitation following the Kutch earthquake in 2001 as Chief Coordinator, Relief and Rehabilitation. With these words, may I now request Mr. Man Singh for his special remarks. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Rubab. I wouldn't take much time except for saying that the maintenance is a critical factor in ensuring industrial safety, safety in the workplace, which, because we have been going on with massive industrialization drives across the country, and now the Prime Minister has given one priority program of the present government is Make in India. That also, gives high priority to manufacturing activities across the country. This has been given a boost by the PM recently. On the concept of Atmanirbhar, we should, not only look after our domestic needs, we should also be the manufacturing hub for the whole world, meet the requirement of the world with quality goods at affordable prices, at very reasonable prices. Now, in that process, unfortunately, our skill development, that also is a priority program of this government, has not kept pace with our industrial development. That I have seen in my home state of Gujarat, that you have massive petrochemical complexes, refineries, gas-based industries, etc. But the type of skills which are required for running not only those industries directly, but also in the supporting industries, ancillary industries, that has not taken place. That is one aspect which we'll have to keep in mind, that skill formation, which this government is giving top priority for that. But it is not the end of the matter when you train somebody, a young person, to particular skill demanded by the industry, but you will have to continuously and regularly undertake trainings, both in skill upgradation and also in safety matters. Safety is not only the responsibility confined to the safety department or the safety cell. It cuts across. Everybody is responsible for safety at the workplace. So, and their maintenance particularly in extraordinary situations like what we have gone through and we are going through, that is 3 months lockdown, even continuous process industries being shut down, and then you are trying to revive those things and reach the optimal level of production. That the whole process is, it adds to the risk involved in this whole process. And maintenance, particularly when you have shut down the plant, and it is a critical factor. It can't be overemphasized. So I'm glad that CIDM has chosen this topic. I don't want to go into the anything more at this thing. I will be very keen to hear the subject matter specialists which are there. I would request the participants to take full advantage of this webinar and participate actively in interactive sessions with the subject matter specialist. It is not only asking for questions and clarifications. you are the people who are handling the subject in your units. So you should be able to also give suggestions that what needs to be improved, what needs to be focused on, whether by the government authorities, whether by the management in general. All these issues, I would request the participant to take full advantage of this, and I wish this webinar all success. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mansingh, for your remarks. I think your years of experience in industry and industrial promotion, I think, and I also forgot to mention that you were the former DGFT also. I think all of that put together, I think the experience which you shared, I think this is very relevant and something what the industries in India, especially going forward, should look at very seriously. Thank you so much, Mr. Mansingh. Moving forward, without wasting much of time, I would also like to welcome Mr. Raghu Babu, from Project Director from GIZ. Thank you so much, Raghu sir, for joining. You always, your presence motivates the audience at all times. Thank you. I would now request Shri Janardhanan Ramanujalu, Vice President and Regional Head, SABIC South Asia and Australia, New Zealand, ANZ. Before I hand over to Mr. Janardhanan for his expert remarks, a brief background and his profile. He's the Vice President Regional Head, as I said, since beginning of 2012 at SABIC. In the current role, he leads the region of South Asia comprising Indian subcontinent, South Asia, Asian countries, and ANZ. He leads the SABIC boards in India and all these regions. He's an engineering graduate and MBA with more than 33 years of rich industry experience, including 25 years with BASF. You'll be happy to know, Mr. Janardhan, BASF, in all our earlier webinars, they've been very supportive and we work very closely with BASF, thanks to Mr. Raghu Babu at GIZ. Mr. Janardhan is National Executive Member and serves Chemical Committee of FICCI and Indian Chemical Council. He is also the Chairman of FICCI Petrochemicals, Co-Chairman of FICCI Petrochemicals Committee, and actively engaged with government in the region. Thank you so much for being with us. Over to you, Mr. Janardhan, for your expert remarks. Thank you.
So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much, Rubab, for the welcome. Good afternoon, Dr. Bharadwaj, for giving me this opportunity, and Mr. Mansingh for those nice initial words to set the tone for this webinar. So when I saw this, just a brief background about SABIC for you to know. SABIC is $85 billion of assets. So we are a company which manufactures, biggest in the world, in the chemical world, by the way. In terms of revenue, we might be number 3 or 4, but in terms of assets, we have $85 billion of assets. More than 16 crackers operating around the world. So we are a big manufacturing company. And safety is something which is imbibed in our DNA, because you cannot operate plants around the world without having the safety culture as part of your DNA in the organization. So I come from that point of view, and one of those things I thought I would add value to this. I have very eminent panelists, Mr. Arun Godolai and Rituraj, who can probably talk much more in precise details to help you in the technical aspects of the maintenance. I thought, let me add value from a leadership point of view, why this industrial safety and how maintenance becomes part of the industrial safety and overall goal. To me, when I look at the heading industrial safety, it has actually many more components there, and maintenance is one which fits in the middle somewhere. It starts with me for leadership. Leadership and its engagement in industrial safety will drive many things, actually. It is not, maintenance is not something which comes from somebody in the shop floor in one corner trying to fix something which doesn't work. It actually starts the other way. So that's some topic which probably I would spend a couple of minutes more. Then why leadership I put ahead? Because what follows is, it is a leadership which needs to encourage designing for safety. You need to start a new design with safety in mind. Once you have put up a plant with not so safe design, then you're forever running behind in maintenance to fix it. So that comes as an after effect. So designing for safety is where when you have the leadership support. Because when you design for safety, it involves additional costs. There are companies who would spend a lot of money if we tell them that, like there is a better and safer way to design it. And this is true. Many of the companies, sometimes you wonder why somebody's plant is expensive and somebody is less expensive. It's because the management there puts safety on top. Then comes after this training for safety. I mean, training is so essential, and we should not take it as training only for the maintenance people. It is the entire organization training. You may find it very surprising, many of you today, that commercial office people sitting in offices in nice buildings, we train them for safety. Yeah, it's not just the hardcore plants somewhere in our chemical fields. What is that meant to do? It's meant to inculcate safety behaviors. What you do, how you do, what you see, what you pick up, what you report. They're even using a mobile phone, looking at it, climbing stairs. So safety behaviors need to be, first of all, inculcated, encompassed, and truly believed in. Then comes to me, for me, maintenance. Maintenance fundamentally, it's not only done for extension of the life of the equipment, it is not only done to increase its productivity or looking for uninterrupted manufacturing capabilities, it is also done to enhance safety. Because if an equipment is not maintained well enough, and then its safety gets compromised over a period of time. The act of maintenance itself is risky, as Mr. Mansingh said. It needs a lot of attention because like you have equipment which is running and which has got residues all over inside the plant. You need to be very careful how you maintain even a running well designed equipment. Then comes safety culture. Companies now are not anymore looking at ISO or SOPs for every activity. They're looking at building an organization-wide safety culture. It means everybody, even somebody who's in the finance department who doesn't seem to be involved in the plant maintenance, the safety culture is developed for all of them. Finally, of course, to be effective in a crisis, you need to do drills. Yeah, you need to keep on doing drills at peacetime. When you don't have anything else to do, you need to do drills. So when there is a real situation, the people are equipped while maintaining, while running the plant, while bringing it, shutting down, or while restarting. All of it, maintenance is always the standby at the back end. They're very much part of it. The maintenance team is always part of the production process, shutdown process, restart process, replacement process, or even a brownfield expansion process. So they play a vital role. So the drills is something, like it's constantly helping them keep them updated. Finally, of course, many times we all forget we need to celebrate safe milestones. If an entire plant has been shut down for a turnaround and the maintenance is done and you bring it back safely, this needs celebration because it is a gigantic task. For example, to shut down a cracker. To shut down a cracker completely turn it around, it takes 6 to 9 months, by the way, that kind of maintenance. Bring it back safely without an incident, not just for human life. As Mr. Mansingh said, even emission in the air, effluents, everything in place is a huge achievement, and a lot of credit needs to be given to those people. Coming to the first bullet, which I said, leadership engagement. Many of us set standards for safety, saying that, like last year we had so many incidents, this year we'll have less. To me, zero is the goal, perennial goal. There can be no incident because any share rate or any OSHA rate means somebody suffered pain. One of our colleagues, employees, or surrounding people. So zero is always the target. Yeah, there is no question of, like we improved from last year's safety to this year's safety. That's a perennial target, and that should flow from leadership. Anything more than zero is not acceptable because one of our employees get in. How can they influence safety from a leadership point of view? It starts, as I said, safety culture flows from top. And I want to give you a personal example of what I do. I start every of my meeting with the safety briefing. Whether I'm in the poshest hotel or I'm actually in my industrial site inside my plant, the first 2 minutes are actually taken for safety minute. I call them the safety minute, reminding everybody. Every single meeting, sometimes it's repetitive, but we don't give up because safety needs to be repeated. It is not once in a lifetime learning and you keep going with that. So that's something I do, and every meeting in my organization, commercial meetings, say any kind of meeting, even far away in resorts, hotels, we start with the safety. And that starts to build a culture in the whole organization that it is important, that minute is important for the senior people of this company, it's important for me too. Then the next part of it is leadership sometimes they are so distant from the actual field work which is taking place that they don't get time to review the safety feedback employees give. Employees are a great source of feedback. And particularly, the maintenance team is a rich source of feedback on all kind of safety issues because they are first-hand, they see it. The question is, how does the leadership respond to it? So leadership needs to commit themselves that you actually have to see and read those feedbacks and be responsive. You need to be able to give a response. And this sets the whole culture in the organization. And the message to be driven is safety is not just the safety department or the maintenance department. Industrial safety comes, it is everybody's responsibility. And the fundamental backbone is the maintenance department right through, as I said, from the construction stage from everywhere else. That's just one message from the leadership. And we talked about how safety behaviors have to be inculcated. For instance, we report in our organization. If I see somebody using a phone while climbing down the stairs, we report it. We report it, we acknowledge that this happened, we train the person, we train everybody else. It is unsafe. Because we know slips and trips on staircase is one of the biggest industrial incidents. People are running around above all the time in vertical plants, and this is something we do. Next thing is right tools. We insist on right tools. If somebody is spotted not using the right tools during maintenance, it is taken as a serious deviation from SOP. We report it, we record it, and then we go back and then try to find out why was he in such a situation. Reporting unsafe conditions. A big part of the job is actually maintenance department because they are going everywhere around. Not somebody is in the managerial cabin. So reporting unsafe conditions is something which is to be valued, and maintenance team has a huge role, not just while actually maintaining the equipment, but through the year. Then the whole question is, how do we deal with mistakes? We need to deal with mistakes with integrity. We will make mistakes. That includes maintenance, that includes safety, but then with integrity, we will fix it so that it doesn't repeat again. There's nothing to hide. We need to be transparent to ourselves, to our own employees, to the government, and deal with that and fix it. That's the only way we will learn to go ahead. And lastly, we know this one more topic which will take 2 minutes more is that after the shutdown, Mr. Mansingh also mentioned that when we restarted after COVID, there have been a lot of incidences around the country. I call it is a COVID-induced stress because people shut it down at very short duration, very short notice. Pipelines would not have been evacuated. Limited planning for coming back to review because people are not available for next 20, 30 days. Improper evacuation of all the lines, reactors, everything you can. Sensitive equipment maintenance. For instance, I can give you an example. We have a nuclear magnetic resonance equipment, which needs to be quenched with nitrogen all the time. In lockdown 1, so every 7 or 8 days, we need to replace the nitrogen. We had to apply for emergency passes, run back, change the nitrogen to make sure it runs. The government was not able to understand, but we told them, you need to trust us that this is absolutely important that we need to do it. We got the permit. So those kind of things during this lockdown, people need sensitive equipments, not just nuclear magnetic resonance. Also, because if your equipment doesn't give you the diagnosis, you might run the plant and end up with an accident. So when you restart, immediate response to incident. I think this was something which was not well thought of maybe. Mock drills even before starting a plant. One of those things which induced stress in the COVID was when we started, many of the industries had a 33% staff to be allowed to start. If you personally ask me, when you start a brand new plant, you have 100 plus hands to start a plant, including contractors, vendors, everybody will be there. When you do a turnaround, you will have 150% people available on day 1 to start. When we did after COVID, we were working with 33 and 50%. This should have put some flags, a lot of maintenance checks before you turn on anything. Once you turn on, you can't stop it. So I think this is the learning. I was involved in trying to get this message across Department of Chemicals and Fertilizers. I was also involved in the discussions along with the National Disaster Management Authority after the Vizag incident. So the whole question is, many of us didn't recognize that when you start up with 33 and 50%, you have to spend more time on the maintenance of checking of everything which works or not works. So I think the COVID stress is still not gone. There is still a lot of industries coming up. See, when you operate at 30%, something may not be hazardous. When you operate at 90, you will see the risks. Or when you go 110, you will see the risks. So we are still not out of the COVID stress. I would still encourage all of the people, participants I see here today, to go back and make sure that before you keep ramping up capacities in your plant, keep checking, keep validating the maintenance, and make sure that you're safe at a much higher capacity utilization. At much lower capacity utilization, maybe some things are still working. So you have still a window to prevent incidents and accidents. With that, I thank you all for listening to me patiently. I wish you all accident-free life. It's not an accident-free year. And not only for yourself, your family, but also all your colleagues. And safe stay for the rest of this pandemic. Keep yourself all safe. Thank you very much, Rubab.
Thank you so much, Janardhan ji. I think it was a very interesting perspective what you shared with us, and I think you summed it up so very well. I think without naming certain incidents, you gave the reasons behind those incidents which have happened, and which has been a reason why we have brought up this series in partnership with all the important critical partners. And I am aware of your your inputs, which you, after the LG Chem accident in Visakhapatnam, and we've been in touch with NDM, and I think you were one of the experts who were not only referred to, but also they tried to convince you, I think, to fly down to Vizag and see what best could be done at that situation. The gap between leadership and employees, I think that's something which is beyond COVID and even before or after, when things get better. I think that gap, which you with your own example, you mentioned how that can be minimized, and that needs to be minimized for and the commitment from the leadership. Reducing that gap is a very important commitment which comes from the leadership, and that should be a part of the very culture which is very engaging and very inclusive. Thank you so much. A lot to learn from what you said. Thank you so much for your comments. Moving on, I would now request. I will in fact take this opportunity to welcome Sarabjit Sahota from emergency specialist from UNICEF. A very warm welcome to you, Sarabjit. And I also see Dr. Rakesh Dubey. Unfortunately, we have not been able to get him onto the panelist list, but he's there listening to all of us. Dr. Dubey, former director of DMI Bhopal, a very important personality when it comes to industrial safety in the country. Shri Arun Bordoloi, AGM Safety in charge for NTPC. A brief background on his illustrious career. Mr. Bordoloi is presently working as head of corporate safety department NTPC, a very important position to have. A mechanical engineering, an MBA, and a PG diploma in industrial safety. Shri Bordoloi has a rich experience of over 30 long years in industrial safety, including refinery maintenance, mechanical erection, operations, and maintenance. Mr. Arun, thank you so much for being amongst us. Over to you for your presentation, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sood. Am I audible, please?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah. Will you please start with the presentation? Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. My esteemed previous speakers already spoke in the broad guideline. They have set the tone for this today's webinar. Now, my presentation is on that topic. I'd like to explain some of the nitty-gritty, some of the steps which are being taken in NTPC on those broad guidelines. So let me start with the NTPC first, but I'll talk about NTPC, then I'll talk about the safety organization structure, then I'll talk about managing safety processes. We have laid down certain processes and some of the best practices. Along with that, I'm displaying my safety mascot, which we have adopted last year during our NTPC Raising Day. So this is one of the, one of the thing which will like everyone to impress. Let us have this mascot everywhere in all the prominent places. So NTPC has installed number of mascots for regular interaction and involvement. Okay, let us go to the next slide, please. So about NTPC, 12 largest power utility globally with majority shareholder Government of India. Share is 51.02%. Diversified business portfolio, power generation, EV charging, coal mining, consultancy, power trading. We have 62.11 gigawatt company constituting 16% of India's total installed capacity, but we are supplying 23% of its total demand and touches 30 million people throughout its power generation activities. Next slide, please. Again on NTPCs, this is the total capacity, installed capacity, 20,000, more than 20,000 under construction projects. FGD, flue gas desulfurization unit, we have installed in number of running plants for improvement of air quality, ambient situation. We are into coal minings also, that is known to many. So 10 coal blocks we are already working on. We have 19,000 plus committed workforce, NTPC workforce, and to the tune of about 1 lakh contract workers, which are supporting us at different construction sites as well as other running stations, and 25 joint venture subsidiaries with a capacity of 11,755, which is a part of our total capacity, 62,000. Next slide. Now coming to our NTPC's safety organization, here it is a 3-tier setup. I'm talking about our only safety setup first of all. So NTPC is having a safety office set up at corporate center. Then we are having number of regions. We are having total 8 regions in NTPC in India, and then total about 70 locations, including now the renewable solar units. So this is our overall setup. So this is the reporting system. The safety personnel at different locations, all of them are connected to us on a regular basis with different platforms. They report to us, and this is the way they go through the regional office as well as they are connected to us directly. Next slide, please. So function of corporate safety. First, let me read out small of the thing. As already one of my previous speaker told, that 0 incident is our target, but then you cannot set target when you talk about actionable points. Set small targets, then we need targets also, but our ultimate aim and ultimate goal is the 0 incident. So I'm writing it like that: preparing and reviewing the safety framework for ensuring 0 incident and its analysis on progress of implementation, ensuring safety rules, system, procedure are being implemented at all work areas through regular visit, interaction and reviews, data analysis and advice, action plan to the future line of action. There are a number of monitoring and analyzing tools with us, which I'll be explaining later on. Here I am just reading the point. We have that SAP and the CPMBI, Corporate Performance Monitoring and Business Intelligence Analyzing tool. That all the stations, most of the important stations which are running are connected. So we have a common platform where we get all the safety related data, which we can accumulate, we can analyze, we can review. Next, we have some connectivity through web page. We have a NTPC safety web page, which is accessible to all our NTPC stations through their monitoring equipments. Where we are all displaying our safety policy, standard, guideline, safety manual, training material, etc. Periodic safety system review. Next slide, please. Yes, I'm just bringing out the basic structure in continuation of the earlier slide. So here I'm trying to say that all the units have separate safety department. This is important. Next, I want to talk about our minimum requirement of safety officers as per the Factories Act. Minimum legal requirement and more than that is made available at our different sites. We have a safety coordinator also at a higher level. who is coordinating all the activities. Is coordinating between the head of the project and different safety officers. We have 8 regional offices and all across NTPC. All regional offices have regional safety coordinators who are also contributing to the overall safety performance of the organization. Next slide, please. Yes. So some of the setups which function regularly and which gives inputs are the safety committee. This is a legal requirement as well as per the Factory Act, having participations of workmen as well as officers. Then there is a cross-functional safety team that represents, as one of our earlier speaker mentioned, that safety is not a safety function. It is not a, it is a line function. It is a function of all the line managers. So people who are actually at work, maybe mechanical maintenance, maybe electrical maintenance, C&I maintenance. This safety cross-functional team consists of representatives of all the departments, and it keeps on rotating. We keep on rotating this and monitoring different areas. And safety steward committee. This steward committee is the committee at site level, which we maintain for regular inputs and regular monitoring at different work locations. Because as you know, NTPC is having number of running units as well as number of construction sites. The dynamics of construction sites are regularly changing. Number of contracting agencies are working simultaneously, working side by side. So agencies, they have their safety stewards. We have our safety committee and regular interaction for smooth working, functioning of the different activities. Next slide, please. Fire safety committee is there, where we involve our fire safety people also, who is our CISF, Central Industrial Security Force, as a fire wing. Members of fire wing also are involved in that. Special safety team, whenever we need some special safety team, like whenever we go for an overhauling activity or special major activity other than the routine activity, we always form special safety team comprising of all the different working groups. Every working group will have a safety representative. So this team will function in addition to the routine activities in terms of unsafe, removing unsafe condition and monitoring unsafe act, providing audit feedback and all those activities during the special period. And if required, additional safety manpower also will be provided. We can induct somebody temporarily with some training, proper training, to function as a safety person as and when required, in addition to our existing safety personnel. Next slide, please. Now coming back to the safety policy. Every organization at its apex must have the safety policy. So like any other policy in other areas, like quality is an area where we need a policy of quality. Similarly, in safety also, we need a safety policy. So the policy is framed here. Said policy is shared down the line, and policy is made understood to the lowermost level of the NTPC personnel, NTPC workmen. What we try to do is that we discuss with them at different forums about our safety policy. So let me talk about the policy. Here we are having certain highlights. Like first of all, we are talking safety is a part of our core value. Then we are talking that we recognize all accidents are preventable. This is part of our policy. Therefore, safety shall be at the forefront of all our activities. So to explain this in terms of 6 pillars of the safety policy, we understand that our activities carry various hazards. However, all hazards can be identified, because power plant is a hazardous industry. There will be hazards. So we must accept that there will be hazards. But then we talk about every job shall be done safely, no matter how important it is, urgent it is. So putting people at work carries specific responsibility and accountability for safety, which shall be visibly demonstrated. Right procedure and action can bring risk under control. Trained and committed team can ensure incident-free operation. And lastly, we are talking about the legal requirements in our policy. And we are also talking about we are doing, we want more than the basic minimum legal requirement. For example, if the safety, if the policy says, the legal requirement says, the Factories Act says that we need a safety personnel, qualified safety personnel for every 1,000 people at the station, but we will try to have more than that. That is what we want to say. Next slide, please. These are some of the tools for managing safety process. Like we have a safety manual. The manual guides us in all the activities. We have jotted down the basic procedures. For example, if we talk about accident investigation procedure, accident or incident reporting procedure, all these procedures are written down depending upon the level of fatality incident or a reportable incident or any near miss incident. Will have a laid down procedure of reporting at different forms. So this system is well in place. Then coming down to some other guidelines on safety, we have operation directive, operation guidance note, operation instruction note. These are the directives which go to different sites from the corporate offices from time to time. And those guidelines are converted to local management instruction at site. These local management instructions are reviewed from time to time, generally once in 2 years. And whenever there is some new incident, we convert this incident into some kind of a guideline and we circulate it to different NTPC sites for their review and implementation. Then it is a common thing that we must have permit to work system. It is a must. But sometimes there are some slacknesses in some of the locations, but we need to maintain this permit to work system. Job safety, next coming to the job safety analysis. What we are doing nowadays in NTPC is every activity is defined or broken down in small parts in terms of its probability of hazards. So job safety analysis is done for a particular activity and that is linked up with the permit system. For example, if we want to give permit to a particular maintenance person by the operation person, then the maintenance person will have to have definitely one job safety analysis for those particular maintenance activities, what he is going to do, and that he has to submit to the operation person. So the operation person will be in knowledge of, and will be done confidence that during the handing over of that period, that during the period where I have changed over the ownership of my operation equipment to the maintenance person, you will do the work in a proper, safe manner. So this is the job safety analysis of each and every equipment. And here in the last point on this slide, I am talking about this managing contractor. But as you all know, a lot of outsourcing and other construction activities are carried out by large contracting agencies. We are having good partners like BHEL, Doosan, DuPont, so many others. So contracting agencies safety management is equally important to us. So the safety document, it starts from the contract stage itself. Our contract documents say that there must be certain safety norms or guidelines which are initially handed over along with the contract documents to the agencies. That speaks about the requirement of NTPC safety standards at work site. So the contractors are briefed initially before they quote about the safety requirement of the NTPC different sites, different works. So this is about the contracting agencies safety management. We also have monitoring arrangement for performance of the contracting agencies safety. So we have metrics, so which we follow regularly for the reviewing of the performance of the contracting agency. Next slide, please. Some of the other tools which we use for monitoring our safety audit. This is third-party external audit. internal safety audit also is carried out by our safety experts. Technical audit, LMI audit, PTW audit, so many tools are there. Disaster management plan is there, which cannot be discussed in details for this in this small time. But as our previous speaker mentioned, that we must have this regular practice of disaster management plan and mock drill. We have it in our entity in NTPC. We regularly do mock drill of our disaster management plan, which taking different disasters. For example, we do mock drill on fire. We do mock drill on chlorine leakage. We do mock drill on other oil leakage. So these are regular practices in NTPC. And one of the lead indicators which is required to be used for reward and to encourage the people to improve their safety performance and safety behavior is reward and recognition. This is in place at all levels, starting from the working level to the best executive in safety, as well as the best station also. We have an annual reward system for the stations. Last year, NTPC, out of all the stations, we declared 13 stations as the best performing stations in safety. So I'll little bit explain about these tables, which I am trying to show you. Going to the lead and lag indicator table, as we all know, this left side, we are having lead indicators. This is a measurable table and tool. Like here you can see, we are putting deviations which are reported by different visits, like safety officers visit, cross-functional teams visit, zone leaders safety visit, reporting of near-miss incidents, then training, toolbox talk, pep talk, reward recognition. These we consider as the lead indicators. These are the actionable points available to different NTPC personnel. Because if we talk about safety culture, that is our final target, improving safety culture. But then if we do not provide the people with actionable points, then it becomes difficult. So we provide these actionable points in terms of lead indicators, which people carry out to reduce the lag indicators. These are the results. These are the lag indicators, like in a station, number of fatal, number of fire incidents, first aid incidents, non-reportable, reportable incidents. These are the lag indicators. Means these are the effects, after effects. So if we concentrate on these lead indicators, then we'll be able to reduce these lag indicators. This is one of the principles which we apply and across NTPC different stations, and we keep on monitoring this regularly. So this triangle, this triangle is indicative of this. If we have a one fatal, then we have 29 major, 300 minor incidents or near miss reporting. So reporting of more near miss will reduce the final unwanted incidences. Yes, now talking about our connectivity, because we are having total 70 locations. NTPC is a huge organization. To maintain the good connectivity, how we maintain and how we monitor, it is a real difficult task, but then we are having number of tools doing this job. What we do every day morning is we do a display of safety pop-up message. Means in the last 24 hours, the number of incidences, the incidences which are reported to us, out of those incidences, we choose one incident along with picture, and it circulates to all across NTPC, where whenever somebody will open his laptop, mobile, desktop, say in the morning, there will be a pop-up message, safety pop-up message, along with the display. We have do's and do nots, and finally we put a link where, as we talked earlier, that we have a safety manual, we have web page where we are already putting up certain instructions and guidelines, so that the reference to the guidelines will be available to the concerned person. He can straight away connect to that and find out that suppose there is a mishap due to Hydra, material handling material handling through Hydra. So that we are already putting up certain guidelines how to do it, what to do in case of material handling through Hydra. So he can link up, he can find out the do's and do nots. That is point number one. Then number two is we have a WhatsApp group, as many of us may be having this WhatsApp group for quick communication of information, sharing of information. All across safety fraternity, we have a WhatsApp group. We get the information and share the information very easily. Then web page already, which I have talked about, I can just click the hyperlink, you can display it. If you have enough time, I can display and explain it quickly. Can you please go to the hyperlink? Okay.
I think it will not work because this is being presented within the system. So the hyperlink will not work, Mr. Bhattudai.
Okay, fine. Thank you. I'll go to the next slide. This is already the web page I have already explained. No. Please, previous. 2-3 more points there. Previous slide. Yeah. Safety web page is there. Safety mobile application is also available with everybody in NTPC. There also we are picking up certain standard information, starting with the policy, then manual and number of do's and do nots. Next is CPM BI platform, corporate performance monitoring and business intelligence platform. This is a platform where all our safety fraternity officers or coordinators can give input, and we get a data as well as analytics, this system, overall system. Next, please. Some of the best practices which we have discussed earlier. Go to the hyperlink. Hyperlink won't work. Let me talk one by one about this best practices, out of some of the best practices in NTPC. First, safety mascot, which I explained in the beginning, which we have installed since last year, November. I just talked about the CPM BI platform and the analytics available to us. I wanted to display one tutorial. I'll be happy to share with you all that pictorial, but it is available in the last slide probably. I can explain it later on because the hyperlink is not working. Basically, what I want to explain is that at different stations, if people are uploading a talking about a injury or first aid incidents or near miss or reportable incident, along with the body part injury, which body part is injured. For example, right hand may be one body part, left leg is one body part, head, chest. So these are all different body parts. So if he uploads the information properly, so I can get an overall picture and give a analysis of what body part is mostly affected. Yeah, what body part has been mostly affected during the last 3 months of incidences, so that we can take necessary action. For example, necessary action will be the proper PPEs. We can analyze, we can find out that some people have not used PPEs. The accident has occurred and it has injured some of the body parts, and not because of using the proper PPE. Okay, coming to the next point, training. There are a number of trainings at different levels. It is an activity which is an ongoing process. For this also, we have a 3-tier setup. We have Power Management Institute here at central level. We have regional learning center institutes at region level, taking a cluster of stations, and employee development center is available at all our stations. So we take up work-based training, activity-based training, safety training, and we have one safety park. This point, this is about safety park. We have a safety park located at the entrance of each of the locations at NTPC, where the different safety tools and tackles used are displayed and how to use it. We have a medical center where every new entrant is tested there. And we have a vertigo test grid where we can do the vertigo test before allowing any of the person to work at height. We have a testing place, and we have a practice center of confined space in that safety park where you can train and train the people before they go into the workplace. So we ensure that all the people are trained before they are actually going to the workplace. And we try to ensure through our medical facilities that all the new entrants are tested by our medical fraternity, in addition to what certification they are bringing. We have some of the LED screen display at plant entrances showing our different safety efforts and safety parameters. For example, if we have a plant without major incidences for last 200 days, if we have a plant having any reportable incidents for more than 300 days, those things will be displayed at the entrance so that everybody can find out and feel proud of and do a better job. Now, coming to another point of best practice is safety zones. This is a practice which we have adopted since 2016. What we do is that we divide our plant area into number of safety zones, ideally maybe 20. So these zones will have a zone leader with a team. Team will be consisting of persons from all the different categories, all the different engineering categories. And the problem with safety related issues will be discussed and mitigated at that level. If not, then it will be escalated to the next level. So once all the problems are removed, all the unsafe conditions are removed, then they will be declaring that zone as a safety zone, safe zone. So say we monitor the number of zones out of say 20, there will be, as of now, there may be 18 zones safe. There may be 2 zones which are unsafe. They need to work on some of the unsafe conditions, which needs to be removed. Once the condition is removed, they will declare it safe zone and it will be reviewed after every 3 months. Concept of safe plant is also there, as I already mentioned, across NTPC based on the inputs of different lag indicators like fatal, reportable, non-reportable incidences. We certify the stations, safe stations. For these information lead indicators, which I have already earlier mentioned, there are regular visits of HOP, HOD senior persons to site. There is a platform, there is a forum in each site for accumulating this information and mitigating whichever is not possible is escalated to the next level and removed. So these are all regular practice. ISO 45000 and IMS. This is also a requirement, legal requirement, as well as NTPC's requirement. All the stations are having this certification. Recently, we have initiated one safety perception survey. This perception survey is for all the NTPC employee as well as all the contracting agencies. The NTPC employee are to the tune of 20,000 and the contracting agency across NTPC will be to the tune of 1 lakh. So we are bringing the inputs from all the people through questionnaires for their perception of safety. This will be analyzed at our end through experts. We'll be analyzing the perception of not only the line managers, but will be equally importance will be given to the perception of on safety of the other supporting departments also. For example, if the what is the perception of finance person on safety? That is also equally important. So that will be able to bring out some kind of a analysis and perception of different persons. So this is a ongoing process. We are planning to complete it in a period of 2 or 3 months, provided the COVID situation is normalized and we are in a position to bring in majority of the workmen. Because as of now, NTPC is having about minimum bare essential workmen maybe to the tune of 20 to 30% only. So once we are able to bring all the workmen, we are in the position to do this survey in a better way. Next slide, please. That was the last slide because I had some of the hyperlinks, but I think my time permits this much only. So thank you for your patience and kind listening, and we'll be discussing some of the points if any issues are there at the discussion stage later on. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Aaron Bodaloy Saab. Thank you so much for your very insightful presentation on how the safety related issues are handled at NTPC, and it's very motivating for other industries also, and very reassuring from a civilian perspective, the sort of safety measures which NTPC considers in its operations. Thank you. Especially the safety pop-up message, that mechanism of live sharing of what happened every morning. I think that's a very interesting, engaging activity which NTPC is, and I'm sure that must be should be taken up by other industries also. The entire series of managing safety processes which you shared. In fact, you rightly said there are certain questions which people are, the attendees are asking. We already have crossed the 200 mark. There are certain questions which people are asking. And the safety structure at NTPC, I would like to congratulate you on that as well. Thank you. Dr. Ahmed, would you like to say a few words and some comments on his presentation? I think we've lost the audio. Moving forward, now I would request.
Move forward.
Yes, the last presentation of the day before we get on to the interactive and question answers. Presentation by Shri Rituraj Mehta, who's the corporate head, safety and business excellence at Adani Power Limited, Adani Transmission Limited, Adani Roll Rail Metro Water Business, Adani Cement Business, and Adani Electricity Mumbai Limited as a mentor. Thank you so much, Mr. Mehta, for being with us. A brief background before I hand it to him. Mr. Arin, I would just request you to please, yes, thank you. Mr. Mehta is a corporate professional in the field of safety and business excellence with over 26 years of experience and exposure in major industrial business sectors like automobile, chemicals, textiles, cement, and energy. He has worked with renowned business brands in India like Aditya Birla Chemicals, Grasim, Ultratech Cement, and Adani. A graduate in chemical engineering from NIT Raipur. Presently, he is leading the drive for safety culture transformation in thermal power transmission, road, water, cement at Adani Business. It's a privilege to have you, Mr. Mehta. Over to you for your presentation, please.
Okay, good evening. Mr. Su?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Okay, so Mr. Akhil, can you share my presentation or do I need to share from my side?
Yeah, so I have given the rights to you. You can share your screen, Mr. Mehta.
Yeah, perfectly. Okay.
Yeah. Can you also switch on your camera, please, Mr. Mehta?
Yeah, just 1 minute. Okay, so is it visible to you, this slide?
Yeah. Please go on.
Okay, good evening all, and thank you so much for inviting me, for sharing my thoughts on the topic. And it's a privilege for me to share this session with eminent personality like Mr. Mansingh or Dr. Ahmed or Mr. Janardhan and Mr. Arin. And I was just hearing them of their wisdom of words of wisdom rather, sorry. And they talked about so many things, and I have noted down so many practices they are following, and I'll see that how I can replicate in those things in my business as well. As far as Adani Group is concerned, you all know this business has grown. This particular group has grown exponentially in past around 15 to 20 years, and currently we can be termed as globally admired leader in the field of infrastructure business with deep commitment to nation building. You talk about infrastructure, any field, we are there. Our name is there, and as far as my representation is concerned, as has been shared by Mr. Sood, that I represent power generation business, transmission, and other road, water, cement, and other things. As far as journey of safety excellence in Adani Group is concerned, past 3 to 4 years have been very exciting for us to inculcate the culture of safety excellence across our business. I would not say we have achieved something. I would say we are on the path, and we have crossed some milestones, and we feel that it's a continuous journey. There is no destination. We are supposed to walk every day in order to ensure that safety is there for every life, every human being who is working with us. With that thought, when this invitation came to me, I was just wondering what I would share, because time limit is around 15 minutes, and so much things are there to share from my side. And I was a little bit struggling to prepare the slides and other things. And when I hear from Mr. Arin from NTPC, Mr. Arin, you helped me a lot, because your presentation has actually done a job easier for me, because a lot of things which I wanted to share here actually has been already shared by you. So I would say nowadays post-COVID situation, when we can't go to theater for watching a movie. So what we normally do is we use web platform, and we go to we try to try out Netflix or Hotstar or any other platform to observe the web series. So a web series, you find that season 1 is there, and then if it is successful, you will find the season 2. So I would say that whatever has been shared by Mr. Arin in his presentation is actually season 1, and now whatever I'm going to share is actually season 2. So season 2 of my presentation, you will find that I'm very specific to the topic and limiting my slides to what exactly we do at the shop floor. We firmly believe in when it comes to felt leadership, we firmly believe in boots on the ground. Unless you have your boots on the ground, you can't ensure anything sitting here in corporate office. So with that thought, I would start my presentation. As has been shared by Mr. Janardhan, my earlier presenter, that they have a practice of safety briefing for every meeting. We also do have a practice of having a safety contact before starting any session. So please bear with me with a safety contact. We call it a safety contact. Like any learning, any incident you have experienced, exposed to, you read out or you watched somewhere, and you want to share with all other people in order to make them make it useful for them, if they can just replicate their applicable learnings in their respective field. So please bear with me. I'm just trying to share with you a safety contact. Few months back in one of my location, there was a smoke detector. It got activated, and fire team were there to extinguish the fire. And when we investigated, we found out that that was a minor fire, but we found out that why it has happened. And we found out that place was temporarily created by electrical maintenance guy for storing some electrical items. And there was an extension board and plastic fan. Plastic fan was there to make him comfortable. And some cardboard items, flammable items were also kept there. Nobody was aware about that, and that was not a dedicated place. Nobody was aware about those kind of things. And what he did was, normally as a matter of practice, whenever we leave an office or any any structure, we normally keep the switch off. Whereas in case of that particular area, he just kept all the switches on, and because of which this short circuit happened and this minor fire happened. So it raised a question, and there was a learning for us that there might be a case that other locations also and other maintenance people also, not only electrical maintenance, they might be having such kind of places in area, and let us just get the survey done and find out if there are such places, and make those places free of all kind of storing material, and let us ensure that no material is kept in a non-dedicated place. So that's a learning I thought I should share with you as a safety contact. Thank you so much. So now coming to this topic of maintenance measures for industrial safety, let us take a case. What I did was, let us assume that there is a maintenance requirement in my organization, a big maintenance requirement, call it AOH or COH, overhauling kind of thing. How we tackle it, how we do it as far as safety is concerned. Can you please switch to the next slide, please? Next slide, please.
Mr. Mehta, you are.
It's in my hand. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Thank you. So my thought would be, whatever we do in our organization is actually risk-based approach. We believe that everything we do has a risk associated with it, and if we have an approach wherein we thought of risk before performing any job, it makes our job easier and a safer way to perform. We believe that high risk is actually high vulnerability. We are with the with the high carrying risk activity, we are more vulnerable to an incident or any injury. Everything we do, everything we are supposed to perform is actually need to have a high risk approach, which is, we believe that a mantra for our organization for maintenance practices as well. When it comes to a certain belief in our organization with respect to risk, it is actually, we believe that past performance in managing risk actually does not guarantee us for our successful future performance. It's a everyday activity. Safety is not an incident, but safety is actually, maintaining safety is not an event. We need to work upon every day, every time. We need to ensure that it becomes part of our life. Rather, it's our habit to do job safely. So that way we can say that past successful performance cannot guarantee that future performance is also better. We need to make effort for it. We also believe that risks are dynamic in nature. It changes with time, and also not all risks are same. Some risks are carrying lower risks, some risks are carrying higher severity. So we need to treat them accordingly, and we need to have a consistent efforts to manage those risks accordingly. Another important thing we believe is risk perception varies from individual to individual. For me, if I'm cutting a onion in my kitchen, probably with the help of a sharp knife, probably for me it is carrying a moderate risk, but for somebody else it might be a higher risk. So we need to work accordingly, and tolerance limit is also accordingly defined. Very important thing is recognition of risk by itself does not result in risk reduction. You cannot say that risk is identified and my job is done. You need to work upon that. For instance, in our case, like every organization do that, we report near miss cases, and we have a soft platform or online platform to capture all kind of near miss cases, and we encourage those. But what happens of those near miss cases is more important. So what we do in our case is actually the high potential risk kind of near miss cases, we categorize them. We observe a trend, we analyze a trend and see that what kind of focused area actions are there, wherein we can work upon and see that non-repetence of those near miss cases are there. This is how actually our risk-based approach works at our organization. Now coming to this risk mitigation process, what we do is we categorize in three parts. One is people, process, and practice. As rightly said by Mr. Janardhan in his presentation, that people actually, the people who are going to work with you, whether they are part of your organization or whether they are from contractor side or associate partner or anybody else, if they are not skilled enough, they are not trained for performing their job in a safe manner, it creates a lot of higher risk in our maintenance job. So how we take care of people with respect to mitigating risk will be coming up in a few slides next. Then comes the part of process wherein PTW is a system and process which ensures that you are performing job in a safe manner, as has been described by my earlier presenter, Mr. Arin, and so many other things are there. We will be describing it. I'll be describing it in my next slide. Then some of the practices we follow in our organization. So I guess with some of these things would be useful for all participants to see if they can find any value out of it, and they can replicate those things in their respective field as well. As far as people part is concerned, as has been shared by Mr. Arin in his presentation, that we also believe in ownership concept, and what we do is everybody is owning a particular area, and when we say owning, what are those responsibility, and owning comes with authority, responsibility, and accountability. So what are those things he is authorized to do so? What are those things he is accountable and responsible for as an owner? And that creates a lot of a synergetic, positive atmosphere across organization. If somebody feels that I am actually owning this particular area or equipment. Next level is actually when somebody is entering our organization, we have a 3 level of training and awareness enhancement system, wherein level 1 is actually about general safety awareness created for any person. Level 2 is actually site related. For example, somebody is going to work in CHP site. So CHP site, what kind of hazards are there? What precaution he is supposed to take care while working in CHP site? Third is actually area and job specific. So whether in CHP specifically is going to work on a belt conveyor, or whether he is going to work on wagon tippler, if it is applicable there. So what kind of those area having some hazard, and how he is supposed to take care of those things, and as well as the job he is going to perform, how he is supposed to do that job in a safe manner. So these kind of 3-level training program ensures that whosoever is working with us is actually properly trained and skilled is there for him in order to ensure safety for not only for him but everybody who is working with him. In order to ensure that this training is not limited to classroom only, it is also important to create some kind of demonstration. So we have created, like in case of NTPC, we also created some safety park with the help of which we give them physical training, and we give them a chance to operate and perform that how they will take care of safety while performing their job. Another important thing which we learned from actually DuPont is safety interaction, which is a tool which is, I'll be describing this particular tool in my coming slide. I was talking about safety park. So here is an example how we take care of safety park. Every important activity of our organization there is a model created by each department. It's a physical, a demonstration of everything, whether it is work at height. So when we say work at height, person is supposed to go to the height with all kind of safety PPEs, harnesses, and all those things, and he is supposed to walk on that, work at height. He is supposed to, he is supposed to get tested on a medical parameter before performing this job and after performing this job, so that we know that there is no height phobia is there, and his medical fitness is there to work at height. Similarly, scaffolding, confined space, all those kind of demonstration, along with we also have a pre-recorded audio facility available at each of these kind of facility, so that and that too in local language, so that a person can easily understand the importance of these things and all details of these things, whether it is related to chemical safety or gas cutting safety or electrical tool safety. All those things are there. Now, let me talk about something about safety interaction. It's a very powerful tool we observed, and it has helped us a lot in creating a culture of safety excellence in our organization. It's actually a tool wherein somebody who is trained on this particular tool will go to a particular location in predefined manner, and he will observe a activity, and the person who is performing that job, he will wait for it. It's a 6-step process, wherein he will observe that, he will request to the concerned person to stop his job and come to, come down and talk to him if he is comfortable, and then he'll start on a positive note, and he will interact with him. Normally what happens is, when we do the audit, it's actually about when we go to site and we find something wrong, we just shout at a person. Here, the case is different. You are not supposed to shout at a person. You just talk to him. You just praise him for his safety, safety practices he is performing. Then ask him that whether whatever he was doing in unsafe manner, whether it is correct for him, whether he is going to get any injury or any harm out of that activity, and just express that you are concerned about his safety, you are concerned about his health. That way, he will not shy away from you. He will rather start interacting with you, and you will find that he will come up with so many good ideas about how to take care, how to improve safety in his own working area, and that has come a very good, supporting system for us, or supporting tool for us rather, which we feel that is very effective, and it can be replicated by any organization. The detail is there. It's a very big program. You need to get trained for. It's a 3-day training program, and unless you are trained, you cannot perform this particular activity. And once you are trained, you'll find that everybody, not only a person from technical side, but as has been mentioned by my previous presenters, that a person from finance, person from techno-commercial, person from HR is also supposed to take a safety interaction round. And then we also, collect some data and analyze those data, and we understand that what are the focus areas. Then come to the process part. So many things are there, process part, but I would just like to focus upon few things. Contractor safety management, specifically when we talk about maintenance practices, obviously you invite contractor to work upon any major maintenance practice, maintenance activity. PTW, we all know. I'll not cover this because everybody is aware of it. I'll talk about JSA, job safety analysis, which has been mentioned by Mr. Arif. And I'll also talk about SRFA, safety risk field audit, and PSSR. So when it comes to CSM, that is contractor safety management, what we did was, in our case, we have established a 6-step process, starting from pre-bid evaluation of a contractor. So whosoever our concerned department feel that they are eligible bidding agencies for a particular maintenance job, we normally do a pre-qualification evaluation for each of the contractor, and it's a question RMD score on each of their replies, so that we can just qualify, and we say that these contractors are qualified for performing the job of maintenance in our organization. Once those qualified organizations are evaluated, then contract awarding step comes in the picture, wherein we developed a contract package along with the condition of contract, mentioning the all kind of general condition of contract as well as the job specific condition of contract, and we make them up, we meet them, and we will meet with them, and we just explain that what kind of requirements are there with respect to safety in our organization, so that they can work upon it. After that, once the contract is awarded to them, we also meet with the pre-mobilization team. See, till now, whatever we were interacting with, there actually a team of members who were actually getting involved in bidding process and contracting process. now it is important for us. They might be aware, but their team, which is actually going to do the job, if they are not aware, there is no meaning of having these kind of interactions. So what we do is we also meet with the team. Pre-mobilization meeting is there, and then we brief them that what kind of requirements are there and how we are going to support them in order to ensure that they do their job in safe manner. After that, the orientation and training is there. I already described about 3 levels of training program in our organization. Then we also monitor their performance, and with respect to their performance, we always ensure that their performance, we interact with them in a periodical manner in order to share with them that what are their performance with respect to safety and where are the areas they are supposed to improve upon. Then comes the contract close and post-contract evaluation. You all know about these things, and we normally ensure that everything is closed in a proper manner. As far as job safety is concerned, it's a very important tool along with the PTW, wherein you, for a particular job, you break that job into small various steps, and for each of the steps, before performing that job at the shop floor itself, you identify the risk along with the workmen. You identify the risk for each of the steps, and then prepare an action plan how to mitigate those risks for each of the steps. And this is a very wonderful tool, and we have created around more than 3,000 reference JSA in our organization in local language. Those reference JSA are being used by every person who is going to perform any job. No PTW JSA, no work. This is our mantra. This is again a wonderful tool. We have found out that this is very effective in our organization. Coming to SRFA, Safety Risk Field Audit is actually a tool wherein we train people to conduct this particular audit. A group of team is there which will go to a particular area wherein we are aware that work is going on. We decide at in the beginning of the month that these will be the area, these are the area wherein work is going on. And this is how we are going to conduct. Who is going to conduct conduct this audit in a particular area, and then there is a team and there is a procedure, and then out of which we keep audit process, and we come out with certain parameters: unsafe act, unsafe condition, their severity, and based on those severity we take action. If it is severity 4 and 5, we all know that fatality potential severity, we immediately stop the job, and we unless it is corrected or prevented, we don't allow them to restart their job. And then accordingly we work upon. I guess most of the organization might be doing so. But here the benefit is actually when we conduct the SRFA, we ensure that 80% of the workmen who are working in that area are covered during that audit. That is very important process. And all the outcome of this audit process, compile in our online platform, wherein we analyze the data and take focused action upon. This is very important process. This is part of actually our process safety management. But when it comes to AOH and COH, we use this pre-start safety review as a part of our maintenance procedure, wherein before starting, after completion of your maintenance job, before starting your equipment, there is a checklist and there is a structured process with the help of which we ensure that we restart the equipment in a safe manner. It's a part of 14 elements process safety management what we have in our organization. Some of other practices what we do normally in our organization is integrating engineering controls. Automation is very important. Some of the maintenance activity we are trying, and we are actually using some technology to ensure that automation is there in order to prevent any injury to human being. If he is not there, then of course potential of any hazard or risk is not there. And as has been rightly said by Mr. Janardhan, that by failure prevention in design itself, so walls, early detections, and all those things, we are taking care that design safety is in place. Isolation is very important in our business, especially in power generation and transmission business, that all kind of energy isolation, it is must for us. It is actually a kind of one of our life-saving safety rules, which is supposed to be followed by everybody. Then infrastructure for boiler IH, which is a major activity in power generation process. We have customized scaffold and layered safety nets facilities available. As far as scaffolding is concerned, there is a standard we follow, and unless that scaffolding is prepared according to the standard, there is a red tag, you cannot use that. Once it is certified by a trained scaffolding person, inspector, then there is a green tag is there, and that shows that you can utilize that scaffolding. We also have assurance audit, various kind of assurance audits, and we also implement learnings out of each of the AOH. Before starting off next maintenance activity, we sit down and we talk about what were the learnings out of last major maintenance activity, and how we can just prevent those things to be repeated in our next major maintenance. Last point is actually FSIPP, which is not case of maintenance, not directly related to maintenance, but I would say it is a kind of maintenance prevention kind of thing. FSIPP, the full form is Fatal Serious Incident Prevention Plan, wherein we imagine some scenario like boiler explosion or belt conveyor fire or any other thing, and we with the help of that kind of scenario, we identify various risks. This corner are identified, then we also what we do is create barriers, and then barrier owners are there. Then we create a bow tie diagram with the help of the scenario and risk and its barriers. And then we have a barrier assurance audit periodically in order to ensure that at least these kind of scenarios our organization is. So this is how some practices we follow in our organization. As far as vulnerability check is concerned, as has been described earlier also, we check all relevant SOPs and SMPs are, and we review periodically. We also review and check the operational parameters and practices periodically. Then inspection and maintenance practices. We also check on critical interlocks and prior startup checklist, PSSR we already talked about, and people's competencies we also described in my previous slide. So with this,
Thank you, Mr. Mehta. For your presentation, I think at the right moment,
I think he's got disconnected, I guess.
The moment when he was ending his presentation, I think he got disconnected. I'm sure he'll be, yeah, he's back now. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mehta, for your presentation. The safety interaction bit, what you mentioned, was very interesting. How you the entire managing the behavior of your workforce, how getting them engaged. I think this is a very one of the outcomes of today's webinar. I think a lot depends. I think when the leadership and the people on the ground, on the shop floor, the lesser the gap, the better the efficiency, and the better reaction time to any sort of an incident. The safety practices at Adani, I'm sure a lot of people who have heard must have really benefited out of that. That brings us to the end of the presentations. Before we move forward to the question and answers, I would like to acknowledge and appreciate the support and mentorship of our chair of the CIDM board, Lieutenant General Dr. J.R. Bhardwaj, who due to some occupation could not come.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Mehta, we can hear you. Yes. I'm
sorry, I just got disconnected. Was I audible or what?
Yes, absolutely. The moment you ended your presentation, you got disconnected. I thought you were in a hurry.
No, it's all right. I guess some network connection was the problem.
Yes, but absolutely. When you ended your presentation, right then you got disconnected.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I was just, we just mentioned, we just did an overview of what you spoke about, and thank you so much for your very insightful presentation, Mr. Mehta.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, so I was talking about General Bhardwaj, who's the chair of CIDM. I would like to thank him in his absence. He's been a great force for years together. He's the one who's holding the CIDM board together as a chair, and with new partnerships with not only government agencies but international agencies, developmental agencies. I think it's his brainchild, and we are all following his footsteps. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to share that the next webinar, the 8th webinar in the series, is on the 24th of July. That is next Friday, the coming Friday, from 3 to 5 p.m. And the topic is zero incidents and preventive culture. Zero incidents and preventive culture in the industry. The interesting bit of this upcoming webinar is that we have experts from the Karlsruhe Center in Germany, Mr. Weber and Mr. Eines. Mr. Michael Weber is a senior consultant in German industrial safety, and Mr. Helmut Eines is the ISSA Mining Secretary General, and with deep knowledge on zero vision, the Vision Zero approach in Germany on industrial safety. Both these speakers will be with us next Friday to talk about their experience and how, on the subject of zero incidents approach and preventive culture in the industry. Also, you'll be pleased to know, this is for the audience especially, that we have tied up with the National Institute of Disaster Management, NIDM, and CIDM board at FICCI. We are coming together and launching a series, a training program, which would be launched on the 28th, a 3-day first module, a 3-day module on 28th, 29th, and 30th of July, with top experts and domain experts from the industry, from the academia, who would be talking and taking this training program further. It's a certificate course, and I would encourage not only people who are attending, but through circulation, if they can speak to their colleagues also. It would be a very, very interesting training program which we are launching. Moving forward, I think we have our eminent speakers and the expert panelists with us. Quickly, I would like to request Dr. S.P. Garg, who's the former ED of GAIL, to say a few words before we take any questions, and that will be followed by a few comments by Mr. Raghu Babu as well. Dr. Garg, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Rubab. It was very nice to hear the expert panelists today, especially focusing on the safety management system and different kind of industries. The SABIC, one of the largest chemical company, and then the NTPC, as well as the Adani Power and the Adani Group. As far as the maintenance goes, to my mind, the maintenance practices should be such that you need not end up with the breakdown maintenance. For that, one has to be very, very particular about taking up the scheduled maintenance without any miss. A machine may be running well, but still, if it is a scheduled maintenance, I think the site should take a call for doing that. Now, the panelists have already talked about requirement of the SOPs, proper tools and tackles, and identifying critical equipment, work permit system, very well covered in their presentations. Only one thing I would like to mention, that it would also be a good idea to have the decide the optimum life of safety critical equipment. We should not wait for the failure to happen. We should through a technical committee, through a technical expert group, we should decide in advance that this particular safety equipment, we will throw it off, we will replace it at particular time without waiting for its failure. So that exercise further ensures that whenever its requirement comes up, it is all the time 100% available for particular use. So with these few words, I would also like to thank the CIDM for excellent series of webinars. This was 7th in the series, and many more are coming up. So I will also request all the participants to keep taking benefit of these webinars in upcoming series as well. And thank the chairman and members and the FICCI for organizing this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Garg. Over to you, Raghu Babuji, for your brief comments, please.
Yeah, thank you, Rubab. Yeah, so all the three speakers have been excellent. The speakers from BIC, NTPC, and Adani. The topics, the presentations covered very well the maintenance topic. And Sabik, for example, was highlighting about the maintenance taken as a routine, and it's done all the time. It's not that, and those teams are kept for not even for greenfield measures or even for routine running. I think the way he explained that sounded to be very good, because we heard of some accidents in the recent times when a lot of things were ignored. They were also locked down along with locking down processes, which should have not been done. So I think that was very well highlighted how important is those teams. Now in the Adani's presentation, I also took a note of how they are dealing with these maintenance contractors. I think often these are outsourced, and then things go out of your own control because these are done by outside agencies, and they have a well laid out protocol for the maintenance by the contractors. I think that's a very good thing. And from the NTPC side, we had a long list of best practices. The important things I noted down are the communication. I think communication is one of the most crucial things in the maintenance issues, which might lead to the incidences. So they have used quite simple tools. Sometimes I've seen that they have used even WhatsApp for simple communications, daily updates, making the display of the information, incident reporting and analysis of the incidents, and taking care of those measures. I found these to be very, very interesting. Yeah, without taking much time, I would leave it for the participants. We again had close to 180 participants again this time. Yeah, thank you for organizing these nice webinars. Yeah. And thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Raghu sir. Thank you for your encouraging comments. Quickly getting on to the questions, we have the panelists. I know I won't be a shortage of time, but I would also like to welcome Jayant Roshan, who's a consultant for chemicals in National Disaster Management Authority. Welcome, Jayant, to the webinar. The first question comes from Mr. Pramod Parekh. Do current regulatory practices ensure documented Hazop compliance as a specific mandatory prerequisite before a hazardous chemical plant is commissioned? And I would leave it to the panelist, whoever would like to answer this question. I would repeat: do current regulatory practices ensure documented Hazop compliance as a specific mandatory prerequisite before a hazardous chemical plant is commissioned, operated, and maintained? Would anyone like to pick this question up?
Can I, Mr. Rubab?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, so I would say my take on for this particular subject, though it is not a chemical industry, I'm not in that particular area, but to my understanding, as a matter of safety, we should not look at the regulatory requirement. We should go beyond that. We should think about a human life. As long as you are taking care of human life, you will find that whatever actions you are taking is actually more and more than the requirement of regulatory body or any other organization. So it doesn't matter actually. You should take care and you should go beyond that.
Mr. Thakkar asks that, is preparing a comprehensive safety manual mandatory under the current legal framework?
Rubab, can I add something on the first answer?
Please, sir. Please do. Please.
Yeah, the first question which was asked about the requirement of Hazop. In fact, as per the Environment Protection Act, the rapid risk analysis is a mandatory requirement for such plants. Any hazardous industry, if you want to set up, you have to have a rapid risk analysis done, where the entire risk is analyzed, what are the mitigation measures, and the public hearing is also done. So that time, if even the nearby people, if they have any area of concern, they have to, they can bring it down before the committee, and those are taken care. So regulatory provision is there.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So we talk. Is preparing a comprehensive safety manual mandatory under the current legal framework, sir?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Mr. Pandey, Avdesh Pandey, he asks, is prescriptive maintenance, will it improve measures for industrial safety? Prescriptive maintenance.
What he exactly wants to know, prescriptive maintenance.
This was,
We're not using any term as such.
yeah, so that's okay. So we'll if there is Mr. Pandey listening to us, yeah.
Maybe
Yes.
I just add a couple of remarks. I think he probably intended it to be predictive maintenance.
Predictive maintenance.
Predictive, yes. Okay. Yeah.
These
Okay.
the digitalization, artificial intelligence, big data, plant operation are already taking this direction. So this maintenance is one of those things. Artificial intelligence and predictive maintenance are being combined in plant operations. The digitalization process in manufacturing is taking it towards that direction. So I think it's a consequence of the artificial intelligence and data coming together. We should expect it as we go along.
Okay. I think Mr. Thakkar also asked a question. I think Mr. Janardhan ji, which maintenance practices are recommended to ensure healthiness of pipelines operating under pressure, under insulation, etc.? I think Dr. Garg and it's a very straightforward question.
It's a very big topic. If you talk about the oil and gas pipelines, there are a lot which needs to be done to maintain the, inside pipeline health and outside pipeline health. You do the regular picking of the pipelines. You do the health analysis. A lot of things are done. It's, it cannot be answered in one or two sentences.
I mean, to answer this question, yes.
Yeah. There is a system. Yeah.
Yes. Mr. Satyaneti asks, what is customized scaffolding and layered safety nets? He wants to understand better this concept.
Okay, so customized scaffolding is actually, you have a standard scaffolding structure available in the market, and some company will come and create a structure for you. But sometimes it happens because of your plant design. You can't have that standard scaffolding structure erected in your area. So maybe at that kind of scenario, you need to have a customized scaffolding structure, ensuring that your standard would not be compromised on that. So that kind of thing is required in some time because of your plant design and layout. It is essential for you. So this is what I was talking about.
Okay.
And three-layered net is actually, safety net is actually to prevent anything to fall down from height. So you have a three-layer net. It's not one net only which will suffice your requirement. So first net, it does not get suffice to your fell down fall of object and any other thing. The second net would be there and third net would be there. This is how actually the whole work being performed.
Brilliant. Thank you. In fact, a lot of people are really appreciating the speakers out of these comments which we are getting. I know you can also check it in your windows. A lot of people, the audience is really appreciating the content of today's webinar. Mr. Ramaprasad asks, any specific license which is required for handling of hydrogen gas manifold? Any specific license required for handling of hydrogen gas manifold? Yes. I think this again got a little lost. Anyone would like to take that? No. Okay. Mr. Mainak asks, what are the safety measures needed for discoms? Would anyone like to comment on that? Safety measures needed for discoms? It's again a very...
So many things are there. It's a vast subject. I guess it requires a separate session.
We can do that. We'll definitely. So I think this is more like a suggestion that we should deal with this subject moving forward. So we'll note it down. Yes. Mr. Ramachandra, in a 24/7 process plant, interesting question, the air receivers tanks, which comes under pressure vessel category, needs testing as per Factory Act. I repeat, in a 24/7 process plant, the air receivers tank, which comes under pressure vessel category, needs testing as per Factory Act. Is there any test in lieu of hydro test, which is mandatory? These pressure vessels cannot be spared for hydro test. as compressed air is required even in shutdown?
Rubab, actually, in such cases, you always get exemption from the authorities. When there is a requirement of continuous operating, you apply for an exemption whenever the testing is due, and you get the exemption because of the valid reasons.
Okay, we also have an answer from Mr. Pramod Parekh, who's been a regular listener to our webinar. He said the PISO has to approve facility for hydrogen gas. He's probably worked for 25 years in this area. He said PISO also is involved in approving facilities for hydrogen gas. We have a long list of questions, but we are running really behind schedule. How basic safety failures occurring when we have so many inspections? Well, this comes from Mr. Bhugavidi Babu. Where is the gap? I mean, let's honestly, we have so many things in place, and something like a non-technical guy like me, this really, because we organize so many such workshops. Where do you think is the bigger problem? Where does it lie when we have so many processes and all of that together? Is it the behavior? Is it the communication? What would you like to really pinpoint?
Let me respond to this. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I'd like to say that, see, if you talk about, finally we need a good behavior safety, behavior-based safety, nice behavior. Now, if we categorize, there is a Bradley curve which has an initial reaction, then some dependent and independent, dependent and interdependent. Means the behavior pattern of the people. For example, if I want to give an example, like if somebody, a driver who is driving a car here at Noida, the rules are not so strict, he will not use the belt. But it is very strict in Delhi, so he will definitely use. So, reactionist. So that way, the behavior pattern finally reaches there is a small group who is very much alert, very much conscious about my peers' safety also, not only my safety. Finally, I want myself to be safe as well as everybody around me. So if until and unless I reach that stage, gradually through different acts, different rules, different practices, we will not reach that situation. That is what he's saying. That is why he's saying that the gap is always there. As of now in India, we are not that last stage. We are in between only.
Thank you. Mr. Maninder Maruti, he asks, how often asset integrity program have to be conducted?
It depends on the kind of asset we are having. If you have a higher value asset available in your organization, you can decide frequency based on their criticality and their value. It depends on organization to organization.
As far as the PSSR is concerned, how we differentiate in checklist in projects after shutdown and regular maintenance job is over? As far as PSSR is concerned.
Can you repeat that question?
As far as PSSR is concerned, how do we differentiate in the checklist projects after shutdown and regular maintenance job is over? I think it's mixed up.
So
I think PSSR guidelines.
Yeah, so I would say it's a PSSR also has a kind of checklist available with them, but it's a more structured process. It is not only checklist; it is beyond that. It comes with various aspects of your startup activity. So I would say PSSR is an umbrella, and checklist is just one part of that, one branch of that umbrella.
Brilliant. Right. Thank you, Mr. Mehta. I think it's 5 o'clock and it's time to wrap up. Before we wrap up, we'll see if we have Mr. Nirita Saxena, who's the Secretary General at FICCI. We're trying to connect him for the closing remarks. Varun, can we have him online? Menak?
Rubab, do we have Sarabjit online? If we have Sarabjit, you can also.
Yes, I did see time, but I think he's moved out. I think he had another meeting, so he has moved out. He was mostly there, but he's moved out. Something important. He had another meeting. So, on behalf of CIDM board, on behalf of CIDM board and its partners, MDMA, DPI, EAC PM, GIDM, ATPC, Bangkok, and all the partners who really helped us curate this entire program. Special thanks to GIZ. Mr. Raghu Babu is here with us for his dedicated support to this entire initiative. Together to Mr. Jayant Roshan from NDMA for his support. I would, on behalf of CIDM board and the CDM, I would like to thank everybody. Also, special thanks to the speakers, Mr. Janardhanan, Mr. Arin, and Mr. Rituraj Mehta. Thank you so much, all three of you, for your very insightful deliberations and presentations and remarks. They were, I'm sure, we have it documented, and it's very helpful for all our audience who were present today. And we also provide these presentations to people who could not attend. This was also live on YouTube, so we have a lot of views there as well. Dr. Ahmed, thank you so much for chairing this session today, sir. You've been always a great support and a great inspiration to all of us. SP Garg, as always, thank you so much for all your persistent support, sir. It can't be possible without your help and support. You've been really mentoring as well, and really appreciate that. The entire team which has put this up together: Akhil Gupta, Mainak Majumdar, Sanjeev Kumar, Varun Sharma from the FICCI Secretariat. Thank you everybody for this. I would again quickly before the end would like to check. I think we can't connect Mr. Niranpal Saxena here today. Maybe so. I would, Dr. Ahmed, if you'd like to just formally with the closing remarks, sir.
Thank you very much. I must thank all the eminent speakers who have been part and parcel of this webinar, and I would also request them to be with us for our future webinars, and also persuade not only their organizations where they are working, but also other people to get benefit of these webinars. You see, the experts make a lot of effort, that they make preparations for these webinars. So if we want, maximum people should get benefit of these webinars. Thank you very much.
Thank you, speakers, for your time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Namaskar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, sir. Thank you.